I have always been a passionate gamer. I was very young when my mom got me PlayStation as I constantly pleaded her. After that, I just fell in love with games. I was really into it and had decided that I would make a career out of it. One of these games introduced me to Laura. We exchanged numbers and started talking. It was seldom that I talked to girls in these games. They were mostly guys who played, so Laura intrigued me, of course. We began to chat and I found out that she had similar interests as mine. She was also a huge fan of playing games. That was how our friendship began, from roasting and trolling each other to sharing every detail of our life together. Her story was heartbreaking when she finally opened up to me. She was older than me. I was 20 and she was 25. She had just been divorced about 3 months ago. Her husband was an abusive alcoholic who used to beat her up. She had been with him for years, so she tried her best to fix her husband's drinking problem, but he kept being abusive to her. She finally gave up and filed for divorce. Her story was really sad. She had been through so much at such a young age that I could not stop feeling an empathy towards her. Number one deserves to suffer like that. I realized I had developed feelings for Laura, which was something that had never happened to me in the previous 20 years of my life. I had dated girls, but there were no real feelings, and they never lasted. They were just attractions. But Laura meant something much more to me. We had first become good friends, and then I started to have feelings for her. I knew the age difference between us would be an obstacle for me, and I was also pretty sure that Laura had no feelings for me. She probably just considered me a friend. I kept those feelings hidden inside me so that it did not soil our friendship. A few months later, however, I began to observe that Laura started to flirt with me. It seemed like she was interested in me and was dropping hints. At first, I thought I must be imagining it since I had feelings for her, but with the passage of time, I realized that I was not just imagining it. Laura did feel something for me too. It put me in a dilemma that whether I should confess my feelings for her or if I should not risk everything. If she did not like me back and I confessed, things would never go back to how they are. After thinking for a long time, I finally gathered the courage to tell her how I felt about her. I was very nervous and worried how Laura would react. But to my surprise, she said that she liked me too. I could not believe that this was happening. I felt like the happiest person on earth. It was something I had never expected and I was over the moon. We started dating and everything was going good for me. We went out on dates. We played games together, of course. However, Laura did not want to show publicly that I was her boyfriend. She said she needed time to have the courage to introduce me to everyone in her life. It hurt me, but I tried to be considerate. Perhaps the age difference was making her conscious about that. I did not want to force her. I was okay with it even though it pinched me that she did not accept me as her boyfriend in front of everyone. I just wanted to prove to her that I was the good guy. I wanted her to feel safe and peaceful with me. She greatly lacked it in her previous marriage, and I wanted her to experience love again. Laura had post-traumatic stress disorder. Her ex-husband had left her with so much trauma that it kept resurfacing. She used to have panic attacks, and I made sure I was there to calm her down. I wanted her to completely heal and get out of that mess. There were days when her anxiety got worse and I just stood by her. I compromised a lot without her even having to ask for it. She deserved to be happy and I was doing everything that I could to make that possible. I had never made so many efforts for someone, but I was willingly doing all of it for Laura. She meant a lot to me. A few months into our relationship, one day, I called Laura on her phone and she did not pick up. I waited for her to call or text me back, but she didn't. She just ghosted me completely. It bothered me and I was really frustrated. I kept thinking about what I had said or done. I did not know what to feel. It was torturous for so many days. After 2 weeks, she reached out to me and said that she was in a very bad place as memories about her ex-husband were rekindling and she was unable to cope up with everything. I was hurt by it, but I gave no such reaction. I said it was all right. She can take her time and all I wanted was for her to feel better. I said that we can take a break because I just want what suits her the most, even though it was killing me from inside, but I took this step to do what was best for Laura. That breakup was extremely hard for me. I got so sad and broken, and it was hard for me to get out of it. I was unable to get out of it. I did most even find playing games fun anymore because it only reminded me of Laura, and then I got this urge to text her all the time. I was kind of mad at her too because I had lost the person I loved the most, and now I was losing the thing I loved doing the most. It seemed to me as if life had just lost its meaning and I had no path to go to. I was hating college. My attendance was dropping drastically because of my mental state. A few weeks later, I was in my room when the front doorbell rang. I lazily got up to answer, and I was more than overjoyed to see Laura standing there. She was crying a lot. She said that this break had made her realize how important I was for her. And so she wanted to get back together. She gave such a beautiful monologue where she praised me so much that I got tears in my eyes too. I was moved and I just took her in an embrace. I kissed her and it felt good after ages. I was more than happy to have gotten her back. Now that I look back to that day, I was blind to red flags from then on. We began to play games together again. We played with old friends. One of those guys flirted a lot with Laura. I got really jealous because Laura just laughed or smiled at it. I could not say something to our fellow as we had still not made our relationship public, but I talked about it to Laura a lot of times. She always brushed it aside, saying that it was harmless flirting and it meant nothing, of course. She asked for more time before making our relationship public. I felt like she imposed and projected her baggage on me. Her anxiety continued and she used it to get out of any argument. She had a victim mindset and she just started crying at everything. I wanted her to stop doing that and be strong, but it was impossible to do so without sounding harsh to her. I was helpless too in a way. However, it hit me hard when my grandfather passed away. I was really close to him as he had loved me a lot and had been sort of a friend to me. I was devastated. When I got back after his funeral, Laura came to see me. Instead of doing that, she started to narrate the time about when Grandma passed away, and as usual, she began to cry and I had to console her and had to console her and had to make her feel good. I was too sad to think about this at that time, but it later struck me that Laura had offered me no support in that hard time. I had always been there for her during her worst days, and she just made everything about herself even when my grandfather died. This was not normal. However, I did not have the courage or the strength to talk this over with her. 2 months later, Laura broke up with me again. This time, I was sort of anticipating it. I knew she was not really into making this relationship work out. She was just in it for gaining my support and attention. I made no efforts to make her stay as I was too drained and tired by then. I was going abroad to study a course in designing games. I was excited for that. The breakup obviously broke me again, but I did not let it mess with my future. I went abroad and began my course. Luckily, I met good mates there who were very supportive when they got to know about my situation. They encouraged me to keep myself busy in other productive things. I started gym, and it was going well. I was also deeply focused on doing great in the course, as it would help me a lot for getting such job in the future. That was all I had ever wanted. One day during a game, one of my game fellow told me that he had sex with Laura. He was the same fellow that flirted with Laura now and then, and it bothered me. He had no idea that we were together as Laura had never made it public. I was enraged. I wanted to kill that fellow too, but I knew he had no idea about. I asked him when had this happened and he told me that it was a month ago. That was before we had broken up. I wanted to kill that horrible woman, but I couldn't. I cried like a child as I had never loved someone that sincerely in my life. Thanks to my new friends, I did not get stuck in depression. A few weeks later, I got a call from Laura. I did not want to answer, but I was intrigued and I had to talk to her out of curiosity, just to know what she wanted from me. She said that her house had burned down in an accident. She was literally homeless now. She had lost her job too. She began to cry on the call as usual. I rolled my eyes at her. I was surprised at my coldness. But she deserved it. I did not have an ounce of sympathy for her inside me. All I had was extreme anger and hatred for her. I wanted to tell her that it was her karma. She had been playing with my feelings for so long. She had been a parasite who had used me for her emotional support and left me when she didn't need me anymore. She cheated on me with a random guy and kept lying and pretending. However, I did not say any of those things. I kept myself calm and composed. She said that she was too desperate and she would be grateful if I helped her financially. I sighed, and it took all the strength inside me to say that I would help her. I asked her to tell me her current address so I could send her a check. I noted it down as I put the phone down. I began to think about what I should do. I was definitely not sending any money to her. All I could think about was some way to humiliate her and to let her know that I had found out about all her lies to me. I finally decided to send the screenshot of my chat with that game fellow where he had told me about having sex with Laura. I wanted to write a long note to taking out all my anger and frustration. I wanted to tell her about all the ways that she had hurt me in. But I realized that would just make me look weak and vulnerable in front of her. That was the last thing I would want. So I just scribbled on a note, "Serves you right." I sent those screenshots and the note to her house. I would have loved to know her reaction. But at that point, I was done with her drama in my life. She had no place in it, and that was it. I had to close that chapter once and for all. I blocked Laura from everywhere, and I hoped that I would never have to see her again. Loving someone so much that you stop caring about yourself can be risky. Perhaps, I should not have been that selfless in my relationship with Laura. But I am glad that I didn't let that bad experience change me. I was hurt and shattered, but I learned how to pick myself up. I did not turn into some cold-hearted person. I kept my heart open, and that was how I found my fiancé. Bella Dela was in the same university that I was doing the course from. We met randomly and became friends. We started to date and I proposed to her. We will be getting married next year, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with this wonderful human. Sometimes you meet horrible people life. So when you meet the good ones, you know how to cherish them and keep them with you. I am glad where I stand in my life today. The biggest lesson from this story is, of course, to subscribe to my channel as well as like and comment your opinion under the video. Everything helps for the algorithm.